Let's get straight to the point. Here it is, the new 2021 Vitus E-Sommet. Now, I was lucky enough to be asked to co-shoot the launch video, link is in the description below, and here are my first impressions of the new bike. Bringing the E-Sommet range straight up to date, we now have an integrated battery. 630 watt hours squeezed into the tubular alloy frame, coupled with the EP8 motor, new display and switch gear. One of the first things I noticed when I saw the bike, the new motor is tiny. Only 2.6 kilos, it's lighter than the old E8000. And finally, we no longer have to look at a battery strapped to the top of the down tube. Those are the headlines, so let's now discuss the looks. Now, I know looks can be subjective, feel free to shoot me down in the comments below, but I think they've done a pretty good job. This thing looks pretty sleek for an e-bike. Profile view is where this bike looks its best. Any other angle and that down tube starts to look a bit bulbous, shall we say. I like the return to the straight tubing on that front triangle. It's kind of old school but modern at the same time. But my only criticism is the all alloy frame. I know Vitus are known for being extremely good value, probably some of the best value mountain bikes you can buy. However, I think they should have set their sights slightly higher and gone for that carbon front end. But they didn't, so what we now have is a pretty chunky down tube joined to the top tube with a massive weld joint. It's far from a deal breaker, but it's one of the first things I noticed when I saw the new frame, so a little disappointing. Now, the best description for the paint job is subtle. Last year's bikes were a little Marmite, shall we say. Some people loved them, some not so much. You could call Vitus out for being a little bit safe this year, but in general, I think they've done a really good job. Back to the technicalities. The insertion depth of the seat post has been increased to allow for 170mm dropper posts in the large and the extra large, and it looks like we're getting 150 posts in the size mediums. So I know that's a welcome relief for a lot of riders. And one of the other big changes from last year is the suspension. The VRS and the VRX models now come with RockShox Zeb forks, and the VR model comes with X-Fusion at the front and rear. I don't know a lot about X-Fusion, so perhaps let me know in the comments below if you've got any opinions. Ride, feel, first impressions. Hands up. On the day, I only had a short amount of time on the bike. I just had a few goes here and there. But one thing I did notice when climbing was the new EP8 motor is smooth. The power delivery was much more natural than in the old E8000, and that was especially noticeable in boost mode. That rattle that many people have been talking about in the new motors, I actually forgot to listen out for that, but I'm told it's still there. Shame. I'm 6 foot and we only had a size medium on the shoot, so I can't go into much detail about how the bike felt whilst descending. But the same slack, aggressive feel is there that was always apparent on the previous model, which I always liked. The only negative is the weight distribution. That bigger integrated battery now sits further forwards in the frame, which leads to a more numb feeling at the front end. Now, clearly Joe didn't have any issues with that on the day of the shoot. You could see what he could do with the bike, and believe it or not, I think that was one of the first times he'd actually properly jumped an e-bike. So yeah, pretty impressive. Clearly something that you just need to adjust to. And that brings me neatly onto my conclusion. I was always a fan of the external battery on the old E-Sommet model, being able to remove and charge off the bike, and a low, further back centre of gravity. It was probably one of the most lively enduro bikes out there, and sadly this is something that we are losing from the new E-Sommet. That being said, there is a trade-off. we now get a pretty sleek looking frame with an integrated bigger battery, which means more range, and a more powerful motor at 85 Newton meters. Full length dropper posts, and let's not forget the mullet wheel set, all at a relatively bargain price. And it's that bargain price that means that these bikes will probably sell like hotcakes into the new year. I'm hoping to get my hands on one in January, and when I do, I'll be sure to upload a new video. In the meantime, please like and subscribe, I really appreciate it, and let me know in the comments below what you think of the design of the new bike and how you think it compares to the old one.